Well, we posted all the transactions for year 2020 for our food truck operation, and we ran the reports to prepare everything for filing our taxes. Now we'll show you how to run some cool reports that will allow you to answer questions you might have or help you answer questions for your accountant or your tax preparer. Also, would like to remind you that the workbook is now available on Amazon. It contains all the invoices, all the bank statements, credit card statements, all the receipts, and some additional reports that will allow you to work along with us as you watch the YouTube, and you can mark off as you post those invoices, as you make reconciliation of those statements. Again, it's available on Amazon as both the printed version and Kindle. Here we are. So let's go ahead and see what reports we can use to essentially assist us with answering some questions. So we would go again to our report version. All right, scroll down to accountants because that's where all the good reports are. All right, and the first one that I want to show you is the transaction detail by account. Now it's similar to custom transaction detail report that we have in desktop, but not quite. Like again, it's a little weaker, but that's fine. So again, let's go ahead and look at our whole year. All right, so here it is. We're going to run it in cash basis, although for us it's the same. Okay, so here it is. It's a little too big, but we'll make those adjustments. So let's go ahead, remove maybe name and transaction type and see what it does. All right, so we're going to name, transaction type. All right, reorder columns. Okay, oops, run report. All right, so here we are. Maybe, well, I mean, we could get rid of name, all right, but again, we don't want to lose all the details. So we have our number, amount, and balance. So maybe we don't. Let's see, what else can we let go? We can let go of the balance. All right, so here we are. All right, let's take a look. All right, almost there. So we have our memo, split, and numbers. So let's get rid of maybe of the numbers. All right, last one. Here we are. All right. So we have our transaction detail report by account, right? So again, in this case, the QuickBooks doesn't let you filter to a specific account, unfortunately. Desktop does, online version doesn't. So, right, so here we are. We have our cash. We have only one transaction there, right? And then we have our bank account, all the transactions for that bank account. They're right here. Again, it's a report by account, but it doesn't let us select a specific account, which is, again, not a big deal. I'll show you why. Again, here's our equipment. So all of the transactions are here. Why it's not really a big deal? I mean, it's not very convenient, but the cool part is right here, you can export it into Excel and then just filter out things you don't need in that Excel and you have the report you need. But you can also use this one, right? So again, it's transaction detail by account. It shows all the transactions that we posted into specific accounts. So it starts with, you know, the numbers that we have, the sequence, so it goes with cash, then bank account, and so on and so forth. Just to kind of remind you, the numbers here, all they do is they say the negatives is what reduces account and positives is what increases it. So they made it very simple to read, right? So again, here we are, we deposited cash in, it went up, then we paid utilities, it went down, right? So again, once we get into Excel, we can actually work with it a little bit better and filter it out. But again, it does what it does. So the next one that I want to show you is transaction list by date. It is very similar, but it you know, the way it prepares the information is slightly different. So again, it's something important to keep in mind that it is there, it is available to you. So here we are, we're going to go again, transaction list by date. And again, we're going to go beginning of the year just to show. I'm going to run a report. Right, so here we are. Let's just take a look. You can group it also by account here, but in this case, okay, let's remove some of the columns. So maybe the split is still useful. You know, it's something that shows, you know, what other accounts were affected. But on the other hand, again, we can always click into it. So let's remove posting number and memo. Posting number and memo. Okay, so posting number, actually transaction type too. We don't need that. So let's see how it looks now. Okay, a little bit more manageable. So we can probably get rid of the split and memo and see what happens. Let's get rid of the split and memo. So here it is, memo. And it doesn't let us remove the split, right? Which is, again, not a big deal, right? So we have our, let's get rid of the name. Okay. So again, for those who ask, well, would you prefer QuickBooks Online or do you like, you know, QuickBooks Desktop? It really depends on what you're trying to achieve. But in general, as you probably already observed, QuickBooks Online comes with substantially reduced functionality, right? But if you do need that essentially remote access or other benefits of, you know, having it remote, and we can talk about it in future videos, you might go with it. For the most part, with desktop, you will have much more capability. So anyway, here it is, transaction list by detail. It essentially, as you can see, goes one transaction at a time, and it has our interest, finance charges, our, you know, essentially split of the cash, and so on and so forth. And we can click into them and take a look and see what's going on inside each transaction. But what it does, again, it goes every single transaction by date, and then we can dive into them. So if we click into it, right, here it is, right? Here's our $50.01 finance charge. What happened here? Remember, if you remember the posting videos, interest expense went up, right? So this is a debit for this account, and it is a credit to this account because that amount was added to our credit card balance. And credit card is a liability. Liabilities go up when they're credited. So here it is, right? And again, we can close out and take a look at other transactions and see what's going on. Oops, 12/31/2020. All right, a little bit more, right? So here they are, all of our transactions. Let's scroll all the way to the end, right? Again, there is a downside to this, right? Because it shows the split, so it can't show the amount, but those are our adjusting entries. Right, here they are. So again, it is a useful report, although with very limited functionality compared to desktop. Still, if you want to look up, oh, what was that transaction? If your accountant tells you, hey, can you tell me more details on that 9714? I didn't quite get it. Well, you can click on it and go into the details and potentially pull that invoice and provide even more details because you have the invoice number right here. All right, so here it is. One more report I want to show you. So typically, if you remember in desktop, I showed you the audit trail, which is, again, very cool report, but it's not available, unfortunately, in online version. Again, you know, you trade off some capabilities, you get others. It is what it is. Let's take a look what report I want to show you, you know, instead of the audit trail, and that's journal. You know, you've seen the journal report in the desktop version. Again, I want to show it to you here. Oops, right? Friendliness. Okay, so here we are. Right. Again, you're giving up quite a bit of control as a bookkeeper, as an accountant, when you go with the online version. Again, if the remote access by multiple people is what you need, that's what you would do. And again, we'll talk about pros and cons of the online version versus desktop version in other videos. But here it is, right? So we have the memos. We could shrink the size, or we could essentially get rid of some of the items. Okay. So memo and name. Let's get rid of memo and name. Okay. All right, so here we can see it again. We could essentially zoom out just a little bit. Hopefully you can still see it. Yep, you do. Awesome. Yeah, sometimes it's challenging to click between online interfaces. Again, it's, you get some, you lose some. What's cool about Journal? Well, it shows our debits and credits, right? That's the cool part. It shows every single transaction from standpoint of accounting journal, and it shows what we debited, what we credited. That's the cool part, right? So we can know exactly how we booked every single transaction. And as I previously mentioned, you can take the workbook, you can flip to a specific invoice, and you can see, oh, all right, so this is how we booked it, right? So that invoice, for example, we can take a look at, the utilities invoice right here. From here, we know exactly how we booked it, right? So, for example, let's take a look. Which one was it? That was the utilities one. All right, so for January. So let's take a look. Alright. Here it is, right? So here's our big list company invoice, right? And you can see the transaction is booked right here. How cool is that? So again, in combination with this workbook and our YouTube videos, you're in good hands. Practice, 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 and it will make your skills perfect. So again, this journal report is very cool. Again, unfortunately, not all graphics load all the time in online. That's another thing to remember. How good and reliable your internet access is, that will in many ways determine your experience with QuickBooks Online. Again, that concludes going over the useful reports that you can run after you're done, with QuickBooks Online. And we're looking forward to moving forward with new simulations.